Morning, everybody. It's Sunday morning, a little bit after 6 a.m. I got up this morning and went through some comments that I had on my video, and that got me thinking about this blank. Sorry about the glare. The sun is really low in the sky right now. Everywhere I go, it's really poking through. But I'm going to spend a few minutes and try to get my blank drilled out with the 7 millimeter on one end, 8 millimeter on the other, and get it glued up so it can be dry. And so later on today, if I get some more shop time, potentially I can try to turn that and just see what I can come up with. So just more experimenting today. Also thank you. I got some great ideas for some lives, and I promise I'm going to put those together. I'm not going to do it today. One of the nice things about a live is when my daughter helps me, because she keeps the iPad and she reads me the comments as I'm working, and it's tough to work and focus and do that. So I think I'm going to hold off until I can have her in the shop, or one of my other children, but she really enjoys doing that. So I think I'm going to hold off just a tiny bit on that. But let's see what we can come up with today on making a blank for this insert we've made. I trued a maple blank up over on the wood lathe, and I've gone ahead and stuck it in the collet chuck on my metal lathe, just because this lathe runs so much truer. The tailstock has no play in it. I'll go ahead and drill all the way through the blank with a 7 millimeter bit, and then I'll decide how far in I want to go with an 8 millimeter, and I'll drill that far into the blank. Then we'll get a tube glued in from each end. Hopefully they meet somewhere in the middle, and that should give us a nice blank. We'll just have to pick, say, like a comfort pin. Not a comfort pin. One of the classics, I think, had an 8 millimeter bushing. If not, I'll make a bushing for the 8 millimeter side. That won't be a big deal because it's going to be larger. But let's go ahead and get this drilled out and get the tubes glued in so they can be drying. I slid a 7 millimeter tube onto the Pentel mechanism, and then I backed it off a little bit, to give me room to be able to plunge it and extend the lead. And I measured from the tube to see how it's kind of wore there. That's where it sticks out of the other, the plastic casing. And I came up with 14 millimeters. So I've chucked up my 8 millimeter bit, and to the left of this line, that's 14 millimeters. We're gonna go ahead and drill that depth into our blank. Well, guys, I hit a tiny snag. I've got my, well, let me flip you around and show you. I've got my blank here on a piece of tempered glass, and I'm ready to glue the 8 millimeter tube in. I've gone as far as to rough up the end of it, and I was ready to glue it in when I found out that my glue bottle, the cap on it was totally plugged. The glue had dried. I guess I didn't seat the closure cap tight enough, and the glue dried in the nib, so I've got it soaking in some acetone. We'll get it out in a minute, and it should be, we'll tap it on the table a few times, and it should be clear enough to go ahead and use and get that tube glued in. So we're on hold, but I want to show you something. A good friend of mine, Andy Cohen, sent this to me. This is a blank that I made. He also sent me a really nice little letter. Get it out of here. This is a blank that I made, and Andy purchased it in a blank sale that I had and made a pen and sent it back to me. And check this out. Jones Cola. Isn't that beautiful? Let me turn it sideways where you can see the whole thing. That is awesome. Andy, thank you so much. That pen is gorgeous. I love it. I love the black kit. It goes great with the Jones bottle cap. It's beautiful. Thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate that. It's always super cool getting something like that in the mail that somebody took the time to make, and then send. So, it really means an awful lot to me. Thank you so much. I appreciate anytime. I mean, I know a lot of you guys have sent me things over the years, blanks, pen kits, just anything you can think of. And just want to throw another shout out to all of you. I do appreciate it. There's nothing better than going to the post office and finding that little orange key in there that says there's another box over there that has something in it. So it's really cool. I think I'm on hold for a few minutes. I'm just going to turn the camera off and continue to check that. And once I get the glue flowing again, as a matter of fact, I just thought of something. I have some other, go over here. Look at this. I have some empty bottles. Let's go ahead and put the cap or the spout from this bottle on that one so we can use it. And then when that one's cleaned up, we can always swap it back and then clean this one up. That'll work. That gets me moving again. So I'll be back in a second. That worked like a champ. I've got it setting straight up like this, and the reason why I did that is I don't expect glue to run down through the tube because this seats right where the 8mm hole stops. But what I wanted to do was try to preserve as much of this tube as possible, you know, without getting it full of glue. I guess I could always dip it back in the acetone, but, you know, just thought I would keep it from running everywhere that way. We'll be able to just cut that off on the bandsaw and square it up on our sanding jig, and we'll have a nice 8mm end. So we're going to let that dry for a little bit. I'm not going to hit it with activator or anything. I don't want to take a chance at drying it too quickly and causing it to possibly break free because that makes the glue brittle when you use that activator. Once it dries a little bit, we'll flip it over, and I've found this tube, which is one that I cut off to make one of my modifieds, and we'll go ahead and glue that in the other end of this blank. I'm making pretty good progress here. This is my blank. I've got the 8mm tube in this end, the 7 in this end. I've got the adapter on there and the nib threaded on. If I bring up the Pentel cartridge and I line it up with the back of the wood blank, you can see that the front of the cartridge ends right about where the adapter ends. That way the blank, I didn't want to adjust the length of the blank. I want it to be pretty much exactly the length that it is. So I'm happy with that. I am going to have to glue this in because I made the adapter the exact size of the ID of a 7mm tube. So bottom line, we'll have to epoxy the first one in. I will start working on how to put, the way that they do it is there's just a little bit of a bubble about in the middle of the part that you press into a pin, and I'll work on putting a bubble on there so that I can press it into place and don't have to epoxy it, but I don't see where that's a huge problem. I'm going to go ahead now and turn this down. I got to find a couple of bushings that I think are the right size, and I'll do some measuring with my calipers, find a couple of bushings. I'll turn this down, and then the neat thing is if the length is off at all, see where that sticks through the back? It looks like it's pretty close, but if it's off, I can always take it back to the sanding disc and just lightly touch up the ends to shorten this. So making it a little longer is better, but let's see if we can't find some bushings and get this thing on the lathe. I have got 50, maybe 60 sets of bushings, and I could not find a single bushing that would fit this. And I found the Cameo pin was just a hair larger than the back of the Pentel, but it was a 3/8 inch tube, not an 1/8 inch. So I'm going to have to go make a bushing for the back end of this pin. So I'm going to run over to the metal lathe, and we're going to measure the OD of our Pentel pin and turn a blank down that diameter, and we'll measure the ID of this 8mm tube and put a sleeve on there, put a dimple in the end so we can TBC, and I'll use one of my standard 7mm TBCs that I got from Classic Nib, and I should be able to turn this. So I'm getting closer. I'm getting really excited about this, and what worries me is I'm really getting into it. I'm afraid when you get excited and you start moving fast, that's where you mess up. So I've got to slow down and take my time so that I can make this work. I'll be back shortly to show you guys what I came up with. I just finished making my new bushing. It's pretty much the same diameter as a standard 7mm bushing. It just has a larger shoulder on it. You can see the difference because this is going to go into the 8mm tube. Nice tight fit. Nice tight fit on the 7mm side. And I'm ready to take this to the lathe and turn it down. I thought I'd give you guys an update where I'm at real quick. Here is the tip of the bottle that I dropped into the acetone. I left it in there for about 20 minutes because truthfully I forgot about it. But it's nice and clear now. The hole right down through the center is cleared out. There's a little bit of residue right around the base, but that doesn't hurt anything. The top still fits real nicely on there, so there we go. So I'm back in business. I'm just going to put this one on the new bottle, leave that one on the existing bottle until it gums up, and then we'll do the same thing. Let's head over here and take a look at what you really want to see. I've got about 3 coats of thin CA on it. I even put the little dimple there to match the dimple where the clip sets on the Pentel. It's not the exact location, I just kind of eyeballed that. But we'll put a little more CA on here, and then we'll buff it up with the micro mesh and see what it looks like. See if we can't get this thing together today. Starting to look more promising, but it's still not done, and it seems like every time you do something, you find a new little issue you have to account for. So let's see what happens. All right, take a look at this. The blank has been polished. It's ready for me to test fit and possibly glue that little piece that I made in the nib down here. Take a look at this. The blank has been polished. Looks pretty good. I mean, I didn't go crazy on it because it's just a piece of maple and it's more of a learning process, so I didn't get crazy, but it looks pretty good. Next up, I need to do some test fitting with my little insert piece and just see how everything goes. And we may glue that in if it goes well. Before I glue it in, though, I need to take some measurements of it. I don't want to forget all that. So got a little bit of work to do still. Here's a quick peek at it, guys. I got a little bit of glue on the nib down there. It's kind of hard to get it to focus. Just put it in a clamp. Not a lot of pressure, just enough to hold that in place so I don't get a gap. The clip fit really nice. Slid right on there. Got a nice tight fit. We're going to let this dry for a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and insert the mechanism in the nib, and we may have it. Well, here it is, a Pentel P205 in maple. Works really nice. I'm super happy with how it turned out. There are some refinements I could do, but I learned so much making this pen. I'm really excited about it. I'm gonna get some photos real quick for Instagram. There'll be a video on this. I'm gonna do some refinements first, and then we'll get another one together for you guys and do a video on how to make it. Well, that was truly a labor of love. Man, that was a lot of work, but I'm super excited. I got a really cool pen now. This is something unique that nobody else has. That really speaks to me. But and actually, I think I need to dig around. This is a 0.5 millimeter, and I prefer a 0.7. I'm kind of heavy-handed when I write, so I'm going to look around, see if I can't find a P205 in a 0.7 so I can just change the mechanism out. It's as simple as unthreading the nib and sliding the mechanism into the back of the pen. So, man, thanks for hanging out with me for this. This was a lot of fun. There will be a video on this in the future. It's just a matter of working out a few bugs, dialing a few things in. The nib section, the transition section, I would really like to find a way to be able to quickly reproduce those. And that may be something I work on first. But anyway, that's it for me. It's almost 10 o'clock in the morning. I promised my boys at 10 o'clock we would hang out and do some stuff. So I'm going to go get cleaned up, hang out with them. If things go great, I may get back into the shop later tonight. And if I do, I'll shoot another video for you guys. Take care and have a great day.